Welcome to the Unlucky Sperm Club podcast, where we prove that you are not a victim of your circumstances, but a product of your choices. I am your host, Nelson Tressler. This episode is brought to you by 6 Months to Success. If you're looking to finally achieve your life's biggest goals, check out 6monthstosuccess.com or download the app at Apple or Android at 6 Months to Success. That's the number 6 months, the number 2 success. Well, today's show is a solo show, and I want to talk about playing the long game of life. There are so many things out there, so many advertisements that come across our screens that scream at us quick money, fast health, relationships that are quick and easy. All these things are screaming at us that we not only can have everything, but we can have it now. And as I said here, 25 years after starting my career, the one thing that I learned very early on, fortunately, is those get rich quick schemes, those get healthy now schemes, those one night romances, those things do not work for most people. And most people end up worse off than they started when they go down those rabbit holes to go after that quick money or that quick health, or they mess up their relationships after going after quick relationships. And as I said, I've learned that early on. And as I sit here today, I've played that long game in life. And I had the opportunity a couple of weeks ago. A friend of mine called me up. He's my neighbor up at our cabin, and he called me and said, "Hey, we just got some great snow, a few feet of snow. Why don't you come up and go snowmobiling?" And it was the middle of the week, and I was working on some things, but I thought about it, and we hadn't had that many good days of snow, so I hadn't been able to get the sleds out very often. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to do it. So I dropped what I was working on and drove up to the cabin, and we had a great time playing in the snow for a few days. And as I'm, playing in the snow on the snowmobiles, I started to reflect upon the long game of life and how blessed I was to have that opportunity to be able to be doing that in the middle of the week. And there were so many other things that played into that. And I started to reflect back on my career and playing the long game there. I was a commercial real estate broker for 20 years. And when you're in commercial real estate and you're working on commissions, a lot of people have that tendency to do whatever it takes to get the deals closed so that they can collect their commissions. And that was one thing that I promised myself when I started in my career, that I wasn't going to do what was best for me. I was going to do what was best for my clients, whether that meant I was going to get a commission or I didn't. And I never figured out the commission until the deal closed, because I didn't want that playing on my mind that, oh, there's this much money out there if I can get this deal closed, and maybe looking past something that wasn't the best for my client, but was the best for me. So fortunately, I played the long game when it came to my commercial real estate career. And because of that, I had some great clients my entire career. For 15, 18 years, I had the same clients. And that was because I always put their needs ahead of mine. And so because of that, I was able to live a great lifestyle while I was in commercial real estate. And then I started to think about the businesses that I had started and built. And the number one thing that we always did in the businesses that I ran, including the pet resorts and the children's daycare centers, was that we always put the client first. We always wanted to over deliver for our clients. Regardless of if that meant that we were going to make less money or if we had to own up to mistakes that we made. And because of that, we built those children's daycare centers and the pet resorts into large chains. And because of that, we were able to exit those chains and do very well financially. with those because we played the long game. Um, and I just started to think about all of that. And then I dropped everything and went up to play in the snow. My wife wasn't able to go because I have a son that needed to be at school and had some sporting practices that he had to go to. So she wasn't able to go. And I started to think about playing the long game in my marriage and my relationships. And throughout my relationship with my wife, uh, I never gave her a reason to think that I wouldn't be totally honest with her. And she didn't have to worry that I was going up to my cabin and that I was going to do something that would jeopardize our marriage and not be faithful or truthful with her, because I had played that long game, because I had never given her that reason to think that I would ever do something like that. So because of that, she didn't bat an eye whenever I told her that I wanted to go up to the cabin and she couldn't be there. So she let me go. So I was feeling grateful that I had played the long game in my relationships with my wife and with my children. And as I just was playing in the snow, if you've ever ridden a sled all day long in deep powder, you know that it is very strenuous and it takes a toll on your body, and you have to be in pretty good shape if you're going to ride hard and you're going to ride long. And that's exactly what me and my buddy did. And I was grateful that I played the long game with my health and had really lived a lifestyle to where my health was in good condition, where I could throw those sleds around as long as I wanted to, uh, and do the things that I wanted to do. And it was so grateful that my health allowed me to go up there and do those sorts of things. And there were just all those things that were flashing in my mind about being grateful that I did play the long game of life. And just recently, my father-in-law, who I have a great relationship with, he's been going through some health problems and had cancer. And he's already dealt with a kidney transplant and was starting chemo to fight off the cancer. And unfortunately, the chemo caused a heart attack. And he's 71 years old, which is, definitely too young to be dealing with all of these things. But he had retired and his children were all grown. And we had the opportunity to be around him as he's going through these health issues and as he's recovering from his heart attack and not knowing what direction it was going to go for him. And this is a man who, I know no one has lived a perfect life, but my father-in-law, Jeff Lewis, he's lived the closest to a perfect life that of anybody who I've had the privilege to be around. He always had his priorities straight. He was always that person who put his family first in place of everything. His own feelings in place of money, in place of pride, everything. He's put his family first. It's always been his priority. And I saw as he was laying there, and we didn't know what direction it was going to go after he suffered a second heart attack. But I saw at what peace he was at, that he didn't have to apologize for anything. He had lived his life in such a manner that the only thing he wanted to do was just continue to tell his family how much he loved them. He had had a heart attack, and the only thing that he had to worry about was he was a little upset that he hadn't gotten in the shower before his heart attack, and he was worried about maybe being a little bit ripe. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, like if I could live a life like he lived, that the only thing that I had to worry about as I was laying there and reflecting upon my life was if I smelled a little ripe because I didn't get a shower that day. Um, And I was there as people were FaceTiming him and telling them how much they loved him and how incredible of a dad he was and how of an incredible grandfather he was and how much of an incredible brother he was and how much everybody looked up to him and respected him. And I thought to myself, there is a man who has lived life the long game. He lived with knowing that what his priorities was, what his values were, and what his standards were, and he lived his life accordingly. And I just thought to myself, I hope when my time comes, when I'm laying there, that I can have the same peace of mind that my father-in-law had, and knowing that he had lived the life that he didn't have to regret and he didn't have to apologize for. And that solidified living the long game in life and what it means. We need to all do that. We need to know that our decisions today, no matter if we're 20 or we're 40 or we're 60 or we're 100, the choices that we make today are going to make a difference. Play the long game. I know everyone is screaming at you that you can get rich quick, that you can get healthy fast, fast food, fast relationships, whatever. But I'm telling you, you will never regret playing the long game in life, because it will work out for you. I'm living proof of that. I saw my father-in-law is living proof of that. And I know that you can be living proof of that if you understand that it's going to be hard. It's going to take some time, but it will pay off in the long run whenever you're there and you have lived that life to where everyone respects you, and that you have very few regrets in your life and you knew exactly what your priorities were. This is the Unlucky Sperm Club podcast. I'm your host, Nelson Tressler. We appreciate you listening. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our channel and like us if you're watching this on video. And I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you listening and appreciate your support. And until next time, remember, don't let your past poison your potential or your purpose. Until next time, be lucky.